The SSAT Career Development was very important to me. It was the first extramural bit of support, endorsement that I received for my aspirations in a career as a clinician scientist. To have an award like that, look at your work and say, hey, maybe you've got the stuff to do this, is a pretty rewarding and stimulating impact on one's career. For me, it led to 18 years, eventually, of extramurally funded research in the fields of gastrointestinal injury and repair, and intestinal transplantation, and a whole bunch of areas. And I really believe that award was instrumental in that, not so much in the monetary aspects, but in the idea that what you're doing is meaningful, important, and potentially something that you can do well. If it had not been for this award, I think I might have had quite a different career. Even back then, and as we know, this was quite a long time ago, pathways to being a successful clinician scientist were challenging. I had the good fortune to work under a mentor who was a very active SSAT member, Dr. John Harmon. We worked together at the Washington, D.C. VA. This award was a resounding endorsement for both of us that this could be really fun, that we could be both wonderful surgeons in the discipline of GI surgery, as well as contribute to the science that would advance the understanding of many different problems in gastrointestinal surgery. For me, it was intestinal failure for the most part, but also mucosal injury and repair in the esophagus and foregut. If I hadn't had this award, and I think we see this all the time these days, if you strike out on your first few efforts to receive funding, career development awards, the NIH, if you don't have access to things, to funding in the VA merit review system or other systems, it can be pretty demoralizing for young surgeons. These awards not only recognize talent, recognize well-prepared and ambitious young clinician scientists in the making, but they really do provide the moral support that is essential to get that group started. Funding is so tough these days to get started. Having a startup award like a Career Development Award is not so important because of the money, but just because it says, hey, you might be one who can do this. This Career Development Award really did jumpstart my academic career. Monetarily, I think it was $15,000 per year, but the impact was tremendous. It allowed me to get a laboratory started that led on to long-standing extramural funding. If I hadn't had this, I think I might have gone on the pathway which is in some respects the simpler pathway for we well-trained surgeons, and that is to become a clinical surgeon. Being a clinical surgeon was in some respects a more fluent and I would say effortless, far from effortless, but effortless endeavor relative to being a clinician scientist. This award really allowed me to think that being a clinician scientist was a real achievable goal. Without that, I'm not sure I would have headed in that direction. If I'd struck out on my first few Career Development Award attempts, I think maybe I would have gone a different direction. Well, I think the SSAT Foundation does lots of good work. It does fall into those bundles of important missions that are not readily covered by the usual sources of revenue, clinical revenues in particular, and that is education and research. We need to figure out as an organization how we're going to support the growth and development of young clinician scientists, an important program in the SSATF, how we're going to fund educational initiatives, another core mission of the SSATF, how we're going to engage new surgeons in quality metrics, healthcare policy, and other missions that are very vital to this profession and which really require the support of a substantial foundation like the SSATF to drive those missions forward. I will say that I'm actually really grateful to the SSAT for what it's done for my career. Yes, it started with the SSAT Career Development Award back in 1987 when I'm not going to tell you how old, but since then it's an organization that I really did feel was practically a second home for me. I think I can't remember how many meetings I presented at, I can't think of how many committees I served on, and of course it was a great honor to serve as president and then chair of the SSATF. So I'm a great believer in this organization, and I hope you will be too.